Welcome to episode 797 of Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I am talking about experiences, sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show, which include the Patreon page or feed and the merchandise store over at the website, which is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Support is never expected, but always appreciated as there are expenses in making these shows. Please check out the links to friends of the show included in every episode description. That would be, of course, the co-host of this show, Jen, the Arcane Observer, and her own channel, and Michael Strange of Trouble Minds Radio. Both the show and the network, the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP, Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of this show along with many others 24/7. I think that takes care of all of the usual introduction stuff. I'm a little bit distracted here. I don't know why. I'm just thinking about things. Thinking and talking is hard. So let's get to the true stories here, and we'll go from there. Thank you all for being here as well for the live recordings, those of you that are here in Discord. And also, please, everyone, I would definitely recommend joining Discord if you would like to see live chat during the shows about what we're talking about here. So, getting back to the document, now that I've fixed an issue I had with it in the last episode. Let's see here. This one says, as a child, my older brother and I played in the woods near our home. I spotted something unusual on a hill across a creek and wanted to alert my brother, but I didn't want to influence his description of it by telling him what I saw or what I was seeing. I said, we've got an enemy on the hill as part of our game. My brother responded with surprise, asking, wait, do you see that too? Indicating he saw the same thing. Frightened, we ran back home right away. My memory is somewhat faded, but it's there. And my brother has a clearer memory of what he saw. He said it resembled a person with the build of a deer. While living in that house, we regularly heard unexplained footsteps coming from the attic. After moving out, our parents revealed that the previous residents also believed the house was haunted. I'm not sure how much to trust my childhood memories, but the initial encounter is still on my mind today. Although the story may seem minor compared to others, it's still a big deal to me. And that's where that one ends. And yeah, comparing experiences or the feelings that you get from experiences, everyone is different in what they consider to be a major or minor experience. So I wouldn't even worry about that. But a person with the build of a deer, I wish there was more details on that. But it sounds like whether in the forest or in the house, it was just an active area. And you hear that in about forests sometimes and things like areas that are out in the woods, just weird sounds and things happening there, or even sightings like that, or shadows, all different kinds of things out there. So I imagine too, if this was enough years ago, then it'd be hard to remember all the details. I have lost details over the years of things that I've experienced, at least as far as being able to remember them really well. So, but yeah, it sounds like it was an active location, and again, you have multiple families confirming these things, the reports of activity in the house, one after the other. So sounds like just an active area. I do wonder if this other person had other features that were similar to a deer. That reminds me of the whole not deer phenomenon, where people see either figures that are standing on two legs that look almost like a deer, but it has like a humanoid face, or other beings that are on four legs, 4 feet, but have a humanoid face. I've heard of both of those before. So really is a wild idea. I don't know what those are. If they're some kind of nature entity, shapeshifter. I don't know. But I've heard of many of those kinds of encounters before on different shows over the years. So yeah, moving on to the next one here. Let's see. I need to scroll down a little bit. Okay. This one says, for years, I have experienced seeing swirly, bright red lines when abruptly waking up in the middle of the night, usually between 2 and 4 a.m., so close to 3 anyway. The red lines are not frightening, but rather mesmerizing, lasting about 3 to 5 seconds. The lines persist even when I blink or look away and then look back at the original spot. Last night, after going to bed at 9 p.m., I woke up around 3 a.m. and saw the red lines again. I turned toward the headboard and saw a shadow figure crouching on top of it. The figure was darker than darkness, with a clearly visible silhouette. The shadow figure was crouched, resting one hand under its chin, and appeared to be blowing out sparks of fire that became the swirly red lines. The facial features of the figure included a long chin, a long hooked nose, and a long but not elongated skull, resembling an imp from a medieval woodcut. I live in Thailand. Has anyone else had similar experiences? What kind of creature did I see? And that's where that one ends. That one to me is really, really wild. I don't know what they saw. It's also fascinating that they saw these red lines for a few different times. And then the last time they actually saw what was making them, I guess. And I'm thinking if this shadow was crouched on the headboard of a bed in a room, then does that mean it was fairly small? That kind of makes sense if the writer there described it as almost like an imp. I guess you could maybe, that might fit. But that really is wild, and it makes me wonder, why was this being done to this person? And why was it done? At least the idea to me is that this was done a few different times. I don't know if it's to sort of gather energy from the person, unfortunately, or if it was just, I do wonder sometimes with whoever or whatever's out there, all these different beings, if they just get they get bored and interacting with people, getting people's attention is just their way of sort of having fun, unfortunately. I don't know. The writer didn't say they felt anything bad from it, so that's a good thing. But it's still just odd that these lines appeared several times there, at least a few times at least, and they never managed to look at this figure before. So, I mean, then the question is, was it there every time or not? So, a lot of questions there with that one. I think maybe even more so than many of the other ones I've read so far tonight in the previous show and this one so far. I don't know. That's really, I wonder if there's I didn't think about this until just now, but I wonder what the local folklore is, if there's a figure in that part of the world that would fit in any way, would be similar to that description that the writer gave there in that account. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that part of the world and their folklore or things like that. But so yeah, I don't know what to make of that one. But the fact that they used the word mesmerizing, to me that's very close to sort of the idea. I guess that's close to the idea of mind manipulation or mind control, or possibly, but hopefully not. But moving on to the next one here. Let's see. Okay. This one says, this happened when I was in 5th grade during a difficult time after my parents' divorce. My twin brother and I were sleeping in our mother's bed to comfort her. One night, I couldn't sleep, and while tossing and turning, saw a person floating above my brother. The figure was clearly visible and appeared to be an older man dressed as a doctor from the early 1900s. He wore a stethoscope and seemed to be listening to my brother. He had gray hair flowing behind his ears, small round glasses, suspenders, and a bow tie. The man turned and made direct eye contact with me, which terrified me. I instinctively hid under the covers, and when I looked again, the figure was gone. There was a strange connection. My own hair, when grown out and combed back, it looks exactly like the man's hairstyle. This resemblance makes me wonder if the figure could have been myself in another life. Despite telling others, no one believes the story, but I was wide awake and can still recall the figure clearly. I am 39 years old now. And that's where that one ends. That's an amazing one. And I don't know. It's always possible. I do think that the idea of reincarnation has definitely been researched, and the ideas of past lives and all those things have definitely been researched, and people claim to have these past lives or other lives. I also wonder, again, going with the idea of there not being time in the way we think of, after a person passes away, after they leave their physical form, and or before they take a physical form, if time is the same there. And again, this idea of multiple past and or future lives, that I know I've talked about before on the show, and or other shows. I think mostly with APOC, again, that in previous shows near the start of this podcast. Really, it's been a little while now. I guess the previous guest in the show from previous episodes. That seems possible. Maybe I don't know. That's a wild one there with this figure. The writer didn't get any bad feelings, but they were still terrified, which I understand why. It's this figure floating above their brother. I don't know. The detail of the hair, unless it was more of another feeling besides the hair, I feel like why would they think it was them in another life? Unless there was more to it, more of a feeling, along with the hair style and everything. I feel like hairstyle that could be that alone made, I don't know, it doesn't seem like to me it could be that much of a sign, but if there's this other sense that the writer just can't explain or doesn't think that they even had, doesn't realize that they had, that could explain why maybe they got the sense of it being them from another life. But yeah, that's all I can think of for that one. Beyond that, I don't know. Moving on to the next one here. Let's see. This one says, in July of 2024, my family and I took a road trip to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and stayed at the Crescent Hotel. As soon as we stepped inside, I immediately saw a spirit orb. I also smelled cherry tobacco, which is known to be associated with the ghost of a doctor who died in the hotel in 1917 from a heart attack. I was initially skeptical, but became convinced of paranormal activity after the first night. That night, I began talking in my sleep, saying the unusual phrase, "Mommy, the cat," something I had never done before. The rest of the night is fuzzy, but I do remember mentally communicating with a ghost. They were one of the cancer patients who died when the hotel operated as a cancer hospital. I returned home convinced that ghosts exist based on my experiences at the Crescent Hotel. So I haven't, I don't think I've done a whole show on this place, but and for anyone that doesn't know the history of it, that's I want to clarify one thing, at least as far as I've heard. The man that opened the place claimed he could treat cancer, and yet many of the people that were there passed away from it. And I believe he was even just proven and outed as a fraud for making these claims that he weren't really accurate. And I think this is all based on memory of what I remember from all kinds of previous shows and articles I read here and there on the place. But the man was, he was basically, he called himself a doctor, but didn't really have any medical degree or anything like that. So there's a lot of tragedy there, and a lot of reports similar to what the writer described there. And I know that there may be some people out there that when they hear that someone communicated with a ghost in their sleep, that may seem weird unless you've experienced it, or you know of a lot of people otherwise that have experienced it. It's an odd thing. I've had experiences with that before, through dreams and through just mostly through dreams, visitations from loved ones, and then whole series of events in my apartment when I first moved in here, which if you go back, you can find previous episodes where I talk about all my experiences here, my apartment where I live. But it is something that if you look into it enough, you'll find many, many examples of that. Similar things happening to a lot of people out there. So let's see where we're at here. All right. We can get to at least one more. This one says, I was home alone at around 10 p.m. talking to my mom on the phone. The conversation turned to my grandma, who passed away a little over 2 years ago, and to a friend's mom, who had recently passed away as well. While discussing these topics, my fan unexpectedly turned on by itself and blew directly at me. Feeling uneasy, I turned off the fan and went downstairs. I asked my mom to come over because I was frightened. My mom revealed she has been receiving phone calls from my grandma's number, including one just a day after my grandma's death anniversary. My mom showed her call log, indicating this has happened 4 times in total. My grandma's phone is disconnected, and my mom still possesses the physical device. It's possible the number has been reassigned, but I still don't know how the new owner would have my mom's number. The events left me feeling freaked out all night, despite generally considering myself a skeptic about paranormal phenomena. That one I don't know. It may have been either the grandma and or the friend of the mom, possibly. Or it could have just been them thinking about those that have passed and possibly their own energy causing things to happen. The phone aspect is kind of weird. But beyond that, I don't know. I want to see if I can fit this last one in here, and we'll end with this. This one says, I went to bed and woke up unexpectedly, opening my eyes very wide for no apparent reason. I do not have a history of sleepwalking or frequently waking up in the middle of the night. After initially waking, I closed my eyes, switched sides, and experienced the same sudden wide-eyed awakening while in a half asleep in between state. During this second awakening, I saw an outline of a person, only the upper body against the wall, oriented sideways like me. The figure had no features, no color, and no clothing, just a clear, shimmering outline similar to a crime scene body outline. The outline appeared to move and seemed to be looking at me, despite having no visible eyes. Has anyone else experienced seeing a similar, clear, featureless outline, a moving outline of a person while in a half asleep state? And I have not. I have no idea what that is for sure. And that is really unusual. So, and I will leave you all with that. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.